Good afternoon, sort of midday, not morning, not afternoon, sort of a good midday, I suppose. Welcome back to Planet Doug Behind the Scenes for Wednesday, April 10th. Yeah, Wednesday, April 10th. And I'm just heading out to run an errand. I might be buying a pair of sandals, heading to the new Sentral Mall by KL Central. And I feel in the need of a little bit of exercise, so I'm going to be walking there. It's maybe 2.5 kilometers. I'm hoping to walk alongside the river, do the River of Life project most of the way there. I haven't been down that side, that area on the River of Life for a while, so that ought to be interesting. We'll see. I'll be walking by the Masjid Jamek LRT station and past Arseni. And I could change my mind at any time and just hop on a train. We'll see how it goes. So it's a bit of an unusual day. It's probably a terrible day to do anything, really, because it's a holiday. It's the end of Ramadan, and I believe today is the first day of Eid al-Fitr, something like that. I don't have the pronunciation. But it's the celebration of the end of Ramadan. Yesterday, I believe, was the last day of Ramadan. And for this holiday, as far as I understand it, the main activity, it's a very common tradition in a lot of holidays in Asia, maybe in the West too, I suppose. Most people go home. They go to their hometown to stay with family. And I believe part of the tradition is to atone, to ask for forgiveness from family members, your elders, for any of the wrongs you may have committed in the past year. I was reading something online that was kind of interesting in that when you do this, when you atone for any wrongdoings, you apologize for anything you've done wrong, you don't actually specify what you did. It's just sort of a blanket, I'm sorry for everything I did that was bad this past year. And the way the article was worded, it sounded like you gave a general apology because you didn't want to start something. If there had been arguments in the past and you were in the wrong and now you're apologizing for that argument, you don't want to bring it up all over again. And so you just apologize. Motorcycle, very loud. You just apologize in general without getting into the specifics of what you're apologizing for. Seems like a wise policy. Anyway, with a lot of these holidays, of course, the big cities such as Kuala Lumpur, when I used to live in Taiwan during some of the holidays there, South Korea in Seoul, living in these huge cities, during these holidays, they kind of empty because everybody leaves the big cities and goes back to their smaller towns, their hometowns in the countryside. Of course, it may not look like it right now. This looks pretty busy, but I can feel it. The city is quite empty. And when I was walking away from my hotel in my neighborhood, the streets felt very, very empty. And most of the people that I saw out walking around, they were actually migrant workers. And I've seen that pattern here in Malaysia as well, where on these really big holidays where everything shuts down, the migrant workers, of which there are many, get a day off and they all flood into the local big city like Kuala Lumpur, and then you see them everywhere. So it's kind of weird. It's like one of the biggest holidays of the year, then you go out into the city and you don't actually see Malaysians because they've all gone home. And the streets are filled with people from Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Pakistan, India, so many other countries. Yeah, I've noticed that quite a bit. There's a bit of a pattern there. When I was living in Taiwan, during one of these big holidays where the tradition was to go home, that didn't happen as much. I don't remember there being big migrant worker communities there. I wasn't really aware of them. And my memory of that time, such as during Chinese New Year, for example, the city just felt empty, just felt like a ghost town. Nobody was there. All the stores were closed. So it was a very unusual time. So I'm down at the river. As I said, I'm going to walk alongside the river, follow the River of Life project to get down to New Central. We'll see. If I start getting really hot and sweaty, I'll hop on a train at Pasarceni. We got here just in time for the fog, or a little bit of fog anyway. I mentioned before that they have the setup on a timer where like a fog machine sending out a mist. And this bridge, I believe, is also part of the River of Life project. We got here just in time to see the fog. And from here, I could cross the bridge and walk alongside the river on the other side. There's the bridge there. It's a really nice bridge. Of course, very popular for selfies. Well, maybe from here, maybe I have no choice. As I said, it's been a while since I've come down to the river at this point. I thought I could follow the river on this side from here, but apparently, no, I can't. It's blocked off right here. It doesn't pick up again until, yeah, I have to be over there, I guess. But that's, this is the Masjid Jamek, the Jamek Mosque right here. So, yeah, okay, now I'm oriented. Yeah, I have no choice. I have to cross the bridge and then walk along the river on that side. All right. Humid again. Oh my gosh. I can just feel it. The air is dripping with moisture. Doesn't feel particularly hot because the sun isn't beating down, so it's not a direct heat, but man, is it sticky. I don't know if that's normal for this time of year. It's just how it is right now, though. Yeah, so there's the River of Life walkway there on the right. And it's going to rain too. It's already raining a little bit right now. So I might be able to make it to New Central before the rain hits. But chances are it'll be raining when I go to leave. So I'll probably have to take the LRT back again. But there's the mist. I haven't shot any video over here for a very long time. There's no particular reason for me to go here. This is Merdeka Square. But since I'm so close, I just thought I'd walk over here, point my GoPro in this direction, and you can see Merdeka Square and the flagpole. This morning I've been editing a video in which I visited the memorial to the first Prime Minister of Malaysia. So he when Malaysia became independent, he was the first Prime Minister, and there's a very extensive memorial to him that I visited, shot some video there. So since I was editing the video last night and this morning, listening to myself talk about the history of Malaysia and the independence struggles and the first Prime Minister and his role in all of that. Anyway, I'm thinking about independence, so it's kind of appropriate that I happen to pass by Independence Square. Yes, there are a lot of people out today. I said everyone's left, but I'm guessing a lot of these people are not actually from Kuala Lumpur. They're probably here for the holidays. See everyone dressed up in their finery and taking pictures, portraits, and families together. It's nice to be on this side. Most of the time I'm on the other side of the river, because when I'm going back to my hotel, I'm always over there. You can see the big paintings on the sides of the wall, of the buildings there. And I'm usually walking on that side, and then it's the rivers. Depending on the direction you're going in, the river either splits if you're walking upriver, or they join on the way down, but I end up going on that side. And then this is the Gombak River over here. The Klang River is on the other side. But it's been a while since I've seen this part of KL from this side of the river. That's kind of interesting. And we'll get to see the murals painted there from a distance. I'm usually walking right underneath them, so you can't actually get a good look at them. And this will, I'm sure, tell the history, a little bit of the history of Kuala Lumpur, life by the rivers, because as with most communities, historically, they always spring up beside rivers. Rivers are always the lifeblood of society. Everybody, the very first people always settle down next to a river or a lake, so. And I think that the murals over there kind of emphasize that, if I remember right. There's a lot of water in those murals, like a jungle village right beside a lake or a river. Now you see fishermen in the water. I think there's elephants in the water, boats in the water. So yeah, has a water theme over there. It's always interesting to see where two rivers meet. You get two different colors. The Klang over there has a much darker color. This one on this side, the Gombak seems, it picked up a lot more silt. Maybe? Yeah, I think it's muddier. So this is the muddy confluence. The rivers earn that name today, muddy confluence, which is what Kuala Lumpur means. Seeing a lot of movement down there, big fish coming up to the surface. I'm not used to seeing that. I wonder why. Yeah, I don't know if you can see that. There's a lot of movement right on the surface. Big fish coming up, snagging something to eat, and then going back down again. There's a bit more of the mural, the start of the mural, with Merdeka 118 behind it. A lot of people here taking pictures. Yeah, it definitely has a festive feeling about it today. And from here, I'm normally walking on that side as well, that blue building. That's the Central Market, with the Pasar Seni station just beyond it. That's normally where I'm walking. But look at this, empty streets. The River of Life walkway is on this side as well. So let's go in this direction. Take a look at the city from a new perspective. I had plans to shoot a behind-the-scenes video yesterday. Now that it's today, I wish I had, but at the last minute I called an audible and decided not to have my cameras out. I was heading out with Daryl, WanderEats Daryl from the WanderEats YouTube channel, and Daryl has a BYD electric car, and he brings it in on specific scheduled days for servicing. And I went with him one time before, and I really enjoyed it because it's just fun to hang out in a car showroom. I've actually never bought a car. The only car, well, I had two cars in my life. One was an old Toyota Corolla that I bought from my brother, and he didn't even own it. It was one of these young person's cars where you put it in your mother's name in order to get cheaper insurance, and yet it was my brother's car, but it was in my mother's name. And he was going to buy a new car, and his old one, an utter, complete and total piece of junk, rusting and falling apart, barely working. He was going to pay $25 to have it towed away. And then I happened to be in a position where I wanted to go across Canada for a job I had that summer in the Rocky Mountains out on the West Coast. So I thought his car, if it could at least get me across the country, maybe I can take it off his hands. So I worked out a deal, And I think, if I remember right, all of these little facts and figures get lost in the mists of time and my brain cells, my suffering brain cells. But my memory is that, well, he was going to pay $25 to have it towed away. And for some reason, I says, well, I'll give you $25 and let me take the car. And we made a deal, and I took that car, and I drove it across Canada. Actually, I drove it all the way through Canada. I drove to the East Coast first. I live in the middle of Canada, in Ontario, and I turned it into a bit of a road trip. And I first turned east, still very cold. It was still winter time, and I drove all the way out to the East Coast through Quebec, through New Brunswick, into Nova Scotia, riding along the coast there, seeing the maritime provinces. I believe for the first time. I don't know if I'd ever been out there before. And then after I saw the maritime, Prince Edward Island, went there as well. Then turned the car around and then drove all the way back across Canada. And that, of course, is, I don't know what the exact figure is, 5,000 kilometers, something like that. Rode all the way to Vancouver, then turned north up into the Rocky Mountains. And the whole way I spent a lot of time at a store we have in Canada called Canadian Tire, which is like an automotive focused hardware store. It's a big store. You can buy anything you want, but it started off as an automotive store and still kind of specialized in that. So every time something was broken on the car, I would just limp along and somehow get it into the Canadian Tire parking lot. And I had the big manual. You'd buy manuals in those days, big thick books, kept them in the trunk, told you how to fix your own car. And I would try to figure out what was wrong with the car. And then every time I needed a new part, I'd just go into Canadian Tire, buy that part, come out to the car, try to remove the old part, put the new part in. And then if I needed a tool that I didn't have, because I had my own tool kit, it's pretty common in Canada. People have their own set of wrenches and anything you need, tools. That was all in the trunk as well. But I'd quite often not have the appropriate tool, but it was really convenient to be in Canadian Tire because as I was working on the car, every time I needed a tool, I could just go into Canadian Tire and buy one. Then I'd come out with a new screwdriver or whatever it was I needed, a new clamp, a new hose, and then put it in place, make it to the next city, and then drive right up to the Canadian Tire in that city and do the same thing all over again. And limping along like that, managed to drive that $25 car all the way to the West Coast. Check out that bus. It's talking about migrant workers. Pretty sure those are all, I can't say for sure, but I think that was a bus of migrant workers. And as I said, a lot of them come into the big cities and hang out because on the big holidays, they get a rare day off. So they come in here to do some shopping and hang out with people from their own country. They all gather in specific areas around the city. Different parks are known to be places. If you're Filipino, the Filipinos gather here, the Bangladeshis gather here. Again, I've seen that pattern in other countries around the world as well. So, but I was just thinking that bus was just jammed, and I'm guessing it was migrant workers. So that was my first car. I ended up using it all summer when I was working in the Rocky Mountains. And then when the summer was over, I turned south, and my idea was to drive the car all the way through Canada, into the United States, into Mexico, and try to get to Central America. That was my goal in that car. It was really a crazy goal, but I set off. But by that point, the car was in really rough shape. I made it to Vancouver, and then the clutch and the transmission completely gave out. There was nothing I could do to fix it. It was way beyond what my tools could do. I'm not about to be pulling out the clutch and putting in a new clutch or replacing the transmission. To do that, you need a mechanic shop. And a car that costs you $25, you're not about to spend $2,000 putting in a new transmission, right? The car had reached the end of its lifetime, and I left it in Vancouver. And luckily, I had one of my bicycles in the back seat. And I parked the car, I left it there, took my bicycle out of the back, and then I just kept going by bicycle. So that was car number one. Car number two was also a Toyota. A wonderful car, a car that I love, still have such fond memories of it. I was still very young at the time. I was going to university, and I wanted to get a car. I'm not sure why anymore, but I guess I had a need for a car at the time. And where I was living was in this small student apartment, very inexpensive, very basic student living. But my landlord was a young guy who was a skilled mechanic. And we were talking about cars, and I found a Toyota Celica, or Celica, Toyota Celica. Also very old, very blue, very rusted, and it wasn't running. It wouldn't run. And the guy wanted $500 for it. Cash, of course. We're not talking about car payments and car loans. It was like, give me $500, you can have the car. And my landlord, who was also a mechanic, he said he would come with me to look at the car and see if it was worth it, and he would get it running for me. So he says, yeah, you buy the car for $500, I'll get it running for you. And then that's what we did. And that was my second car in my life and my last car. So I guess the reason I'm telling this long story is that to make the point that I've never done any of these adult things that you're supposed to do in life. I see it in movies all the time. I see it in TV shows where people go to the car showroom and they're dealing with the car salesman, the car dealer, and it's usually done for laughs because they're always trying to sell you undercoating and upsell you. And car salesmen, you know, they have a bit of a stereotypical image. But then, of course, in modern times, it's all very complicated and sophisticated. It's not like, here's $500, oh, here's your car, here's the keys to your car. It doesn't work like that anymore. You're basically filling out a lot of paperwork, getting car loans, doing all these things, very adult, very mature things. And then, of course, the average person would end up paying for that car for the next 20 years. I don't know how long it takes to pay off a car loan, but you work out a loan and use that money to buy the car, and then you have to pay back the loan over a period of many years. And yeah, it seems like a very adult, very mature thing to do. And I've never done it. So going with Daryl to BYD to have his car serviced, it kind of makes me feel at least like I'm rubbing shoulders with the adult world. I'll never in my lifetime, I will never do it. I will never have the experience of sitting down with a car salesman and filling out the paperwork and driving off the lot with a brand new car. I'll never have that experience, but it's kind of fun to rub, you know, just rub shoulders, rub elbows with people who are doing it, like my friend Daryl. So here we are, still on the river. And I guess from this point, it's called the Klang. Up there, the Klang and the Gombak merged. But after at the point where they merged, I think officially the Gombak ended, and the two of them together is now the Klang River. So, past Arseni Station right there. Here's the river ahead of me. I'm still following the River of Life walkway. I've walked up and down here quite a few times, ridden my bike up and down here quite a few times, and I'm always commenting on or noticing. You do get the homeless population because they get shelter, water and shelter, I suppose. It's quite often there's right across the road there, right across the river. You can see some water coming out of the wall, and that's if you're homeless and living here. I don't think you're going to be drinking that water, but at least you can wash your hands or wash your clothes over there. And there's the LRT line, Kelana Jaya line. So that was a very long verbal detour just to say that I'd arranged to go with Daryl to the BYD dealership when he was going to get his car serviced. And I did it one other time with him, and I was very happy to find out that at BYD, while you're waiting for your car to be worked on, they have a coffee bar. You can get free coffee, sandwiches, and even nasi lemak around lunchtime. So when Daryl told me he had another appointment coming up, and I said, yeah, I'd love to come along. I'm going to have a morning coffee anyway. I might as well have my morning coffee at BYD with him, hang out, and just breathe in the luxury of brand new electric cars. And my idea was to tell stories like this and record a BTS video along the way. And I started off doing that. In fact, I was inside my room, and I decided, since I got all my camera gear ready, I thought I might as well record a short video about what's in my camera bag. It was supposed to be very short and to the point, but of course, nothing I do is short and to the point. So by the time I was done talking about my GoPros, what I take with me, what's in my bag, how I pack them, how I set them up, it had taken me 20 minutes. So that was going to be an entirely separate video now. It's going live tonight, in fact, as a behind-the-scenes video. And then, just as I was winding up that video, I looked at my watch and I said, oh, I'm running late. Daryl's it's like 5 minutes until Daryl is supposed to be there. Oh, there goes my train, by the way. Oh, can't see it. Maybe you can hear it. The Kelana Jaya train. But yeah, in the video I said, oh, I got 5 minutes, I gotta go. And I shut down the GoPro, and I'm just about to, well, I didn't shut down the GoPro, I was about to, and then I got a message on my phone, and it was from Daryl, and he says, sorry, I just woke up, I'm on my way now. And I thought that was kind of funny, because on numerous occasions I've showered Daryl with praise because he is so organized, he's so punctual, and he keeps you updated all the time if you're going to be meeting somewhere. I like people who do that, and I do it myself, where you say, meet at this time, at this place, and then you're never late, and you always send a message when you're on your way. I'll be, you keep the other person updated so they know you're coming. And Daryl is a master at that, a very considerate person. And I've told him that many times. There goes the Kelana Jaya train. Going to run across here. And after showering Daryl with that praise so many times, for the very first time, I get a message from him saying, I slept in. He was supposed to be there right at that time, and he had basically just woken up. So that was pretty funny. Yeah. So this is the next section, I guess, of the River of Life project. And I've come down here many times, and it's been under construction a lot. So I'm curious to see how far they've gotten, how complete it is. So yeah, it follows the river down here. And that over there, by the way, that's the monorail. So the monorail and the Kelana Jaya line, they meet at KL Central, at the new Sentral Mall. They come together there. So the monorail crosses the Klang River at this point, which is very cool. I love watching the monorail train go by here. I don't see a lot of people. I'm surprised. In the past, I saw quite large homeless communities underneath this bridge here, but I don't see anybody down there right now. So we'll see. I'm sure we'll get a glimpse of the monorail. Up ahead is the Sambanthan station, and at Sambanthan, then I turn to the right, and that will take me to KL Central. I sometimes get confused if I come here on foot, because I normally do it by LRT, and going into KL Central from the outside rather than from the inside on the train can get actually pretty complicated, and I get lost sometimes, but I just have to trust my feet and my instincts to get me there. So Daryl said he's on his way, and it was fine with me, as I said on the video. It's like, because I was speaking really, really fast because I was trying to finish talking about my camera gear before Daryl was going to show up, and I was rushing to get it done, and then I was running late, and then it turns out he hadn't even left home yet. Oh, there we go, monorail. Can't really see the train from here, but it's there. It'll come into view there a little bit. Always makes me feel like I'm in an amusement park. I associate monorails with Disney World, places like that. Which, by the way, is another adult thing I've never done. I've never been to Disneyland, never been to Disney World. And when I listen to podcasts, a lot of the podcasts I used to listen to were based in places like California. And these people would go to Disneyland practically every month. It was a routine thing for them to do. And I always felt, it's like, I've never been, and I'll never ever go. We did have a big amusement park near where I grew up in Ohio called Cedar Point. And that is the biggest, most modern amusement park that I've ever been to. And it was known for having a big selection of really fast and powerful, exciting roller coasters. So it worked out well for me. And I've been to Cedar Point at least twice, maybe 3 times, once on a family trip, once with friends, third time, I don't know. But it's the only place I've ever been. Never been to Disneyland, never been to Disney World, never done any of those things. It's kind of weird. So, once Daryl told me he was going to be late, then I just slowed down, talked at my normal slow pace, and I finished my video about my camera gear. And then I went down to meet Daryl. He drives up outside my hotel, I go down and hop in, and I had my GoPro running, and I was all set to keep the camera rolling and make a video about going to BYD, and we were probably going to get something to eat for lunch. And then for some reason, once I got in his car and Daryl and I started chatting, I just didn't want to get out the camera. I had it out, it was in my hand, but I didn't want to hit the record button. I was enjoying it, just not filming anything. I'd filmed the day before all day long. I've been talking a lot on camera, and I thought, let's just take a break. And I put my camera away. And now I regret it because, well, to be honest, the main reason I put my camera away was not because I was tired of talking. I'm never tired of talking, it seems. I was tired of editing. Oh no, I wasn't even tired of editing, because I love editing too. I just didn't have the time. I have so much video already stockpiled that shooting more video, I just don't have time to edit new video. So that's why I decided not to record anything. So here we are under another bridge. And again, I'm having the same feeling, like I'm used to seeing at least a scattering of homeless people here. And there's nobody. Not one that I can see. Not even, like, no encampment. Maybe it's because of the time of year. Heavy rains, and they're worried about the river flooding on them during the night. That would be a real concern, because during a heavy rainstorm, the water will rise and flood this whole area. And if they're sleeping here at night, that would be quite the mess. And they do seem to have made progress here. When I did this walk before, there were sections where I had to go along dirt and rocky trails through construction sites, things like that. But now I've been on this walkway the entire time. So they've basically they've completed this section, which is nice. So anyway, there I was in the car with Daryl going to BYD, and I put my GoPro away. We had a really good time. We went to a different BYD location. I hadn't been to this one before. I don't think Daryl had either. Big, beautiful building. It just felt luxurious from the outside. I think Daryl explained to me that that company, whoever operates this BYD service center, also had a contract with BMW. So BMW owners could have their cars serviced at the same location. Then you walk into this gorgeous, all glass and steel, 4 stories high maybe. And then there's the showroom with all the brand new cars, that new car smell. And they had the new Seal. It's a new BYD model called the Seal. And their slogan, I guess, their marketing slogan is Seal the Speed. And I don't know, doesn't roll off the tongue somehow. Seal, it's a play on words. Why they chose Seal, I think they have like a nautical theme going on with water and ocean and marine life. So they chose Seal as the brand name. But then now they're using it as seal the deal. So they used it as a verb rather than a noun. This time, seal the speed. Every time I say it, I want to say seal the deal, because that's what comes off my tongue naturally. And I have to stop. No, it's not that, it's seal the speed. It's too many consonants, S, TH, S again. It's hard to say. Anyway, someone in their marketing department thought it sounded good and they ran with it. Seal the speed. Beautiful looking car on the interior. Very impressed with these electric cars. Starting to rain. I think I have to put my GoPro away quickly. And the last time I did this with a little bit of rain, I shorted out my microphone, and I don't want to do that again. So I'm going to put this away, and I'll come back once I'm dry inside the mall. I decided to take the monorail for the last stop. Doesn't make a lot of sense because I'm practically there already, but the rain's coming down heavier, and it gets very complicated with the blocks and the intersections and the buildings, how to get in. So I just thought, and I'm recording this video, so I don't want to just appear in the video next inside a boring shopping mall. So here I am inside an exciting monorail station. How many minutes until mine comes? Doesn't say. But there's the monorail tracks. Crosses the river a short distance up ahead. We saw that as we were walking along. And KL Central is sort of off in this direction. And this station is built right alongside the river. Busy highway system over there. I've had to deal with that highway on a bicycle as well. I'm riding my bicycle along that a few times until I gave up cycling. So, where was I? Oh yes, BYD, new car smell, checking out the new Seal. And then up on the second floor, that's where they had a big expansive area with lots of comfortable chairs and tables. And at the far end was a coffee bar. And you could ask for whatever kind of coffee you wanted, latte, cappuccino, Americano. And at that time they had sandwiches there. So I had like a ham and cheese sandwich or something like that. And I went back for a second sandwich later on, some kind of a fish sandwich. And then, oh, here comes the monorail. And then around lunchtime, around noon, some people showed up with big bags of individual nasi lemak. And you could get that as well, as long as you are a BYD customer or you are good friends with a BYD owner. Next stop, KL Central. Just to give an idea of how dumb this is, I'm actually right here. Tun Sambanfan. So I'm only going one stop to KL Central. KL Central Station. But it works out pretty well. As I said, it takes me right into the shopping mall, and I don't have to get any wetter. My microphones don't get shorted out. Yeah, we were there at BYD for a couple of hours while Daryl had his car worked on. Had a couple cups of coffee, chatted while we were there. Really good experience. I really enjoyed it. As I mentioned a few times, I love running errands and even going with other people to do their errands. I've done that my whole life. I've always enjoyed it for some reason. It's sort of like going out exploring, but you have a purpose. You're actually getting something done. Like even today, I don't absolutely have to buy sandals today, considering how hot it is and how humid and how sticky and wet I am now. I may not even buy sandals. I may just get a cold drink and then turn around and go back again. I'm just not in the mood to go shopping, to be honest. But yeah, it's nice to go out with a sense of purpose. So here we are, arriving at KL Central. The doors open on both sides. So they first open over here so people can get off. And then there's doors on the other side. There's another platform over there. And those doors open to let them on. So now everybody, they get on again. It took me a while to figure that out when I first got to Kuala Lumpur, because normally any sort of subway station has two platforms and two tracks, right?
Mind the platform and train gap.
She's very loud. If you want to go in one direction, you get on this train. You want to go in the other direction, you get on the other train. But this terminal station, it only has one track. So the train comes in and stops, and then it just goes back in the other direction. So it doesn't really matter which side you get on. There's only one train, there's only one track. So that's kind of interesting. On the escalator in KL Central. And I think what I'm going to do, to be honest, is just go up the escalator all the way to the top. And there's a McDonald's up there. Maybe I can get a cold drink, maybe even something to eat, sit down and cool down. And then maybe once I'm cool, then I'll be able to go shopping. Because right now I'm so hot and sweaty, just not in the mood. So yeah, here, escalators are over here. Might be very, very busy today, but we'll see. If it's not, if there are tables available, I'll just grab a cold drink there. There are coffee shops that I've been to before, but oddly enough, inside shopping malls, coffee shops tend to have very poor air conditioning. So there is a Starbucks here in New Central, but I don't generally go to that one because it's so hot. You think inside a shopping mall, the air conditioning would be really good because they're already in an air-conditioned environment. But for some reason, it's much poorer than in standalone Starbucks. Seems pretty crowded in here, which means McDonald's might be really crowded. We'll find out. And that's where we're going. All the way to the top, just about. That's where the McDonald's is up there. So once Daryl's car was ready to be picked up, it was all serviced and ready to go, we went in search of a Vietnamese restaurant. He'd never been there before. What's that? No? Okay. Thank you. Change of scene. I got shut down by security. It's kind of funny. I've been in and out of this mall with my GoPro a dozen times at least, maybe more. And security has never paid any attention to me, but today the guy told me no video allowed. Makes me think of a video I just watched from a couple of YouTubers here in Kuala Lumpur, and they shot a video. I've got my GoPro kind of precariously mounted, so I'm very nervous about it. Anyway, this YouTuber couple, they went to every shopping mall in KL, or as many as they could get to, just to look at all of the Raya decorations. And they wanted to make a bit of a adventure out of it, a YouTube adventure, and then decide which one was their favorite. So they actually had cameras running in every single shopping mall that they could get to in one day, or maybe over several days. But I wonder if they ran into security problems too. I don't know. But anyway, yeah, so I turned off my camera out in the mall, and I did go to McDonald's, but it's just jammed with people, crowded. Everything is way super crowded. So I am here at Old Town, and they have a QR code ordering system, and they have a menu system, so I can choose. I think I'm going to try the QR code, see how that works. But I have to unmount my GoPro because it's going to fall off here. My Jaws Flex clamp doesn't have a good enough place to hook onto. Anyway, I'll return once the food starts arriving. So I placed my order, and I did do it through the QR code, just because I'm interested in the new system, how it always works, figuring it out in different places. And here it wasn't that pleasing. At the very first page, it was asking me for either a phone number or an email address, and I immediately went, if I have to register a user account, then I'm not going to do it. I'll just order from the waiter. But then I realized there's a little button down at the bottom that says you could continue as guest. So you had a choice. You could register an account with your personal details or skip it and do it as a guest. But they don't make that very obvious, right? Because they want you to sign up so they can send you marketing emails, get data about you, all that marketing stuff. But I did see I could just do it as a guest, so I went on to that. But then the way the menu system worked, I don't know, I found it a little bit confusing, finding what I wanted to order. And there seemed to be a lot of items in the menu that are not in the QR code online menu. Maybe I just missed them, but I had trouble making sense out of the QR code menu. I kept seeing things on the real menu that I wanted, but then I couldn't find the equivalent on the online menu. So anyway, it seemed confusing to me. But I stuck with it, and I ordered a bowl of noodles with a bunch of stuff, and a little side order of a macaroni and cheese. Just wanted to see what their mac and cheese was like. So that's what I'm waiting for. And I have my GoPro mounted closer to me. I've got a nice secure spot right here. I noticed when I was doing something like this before, sitting down, and then like in the subway system, and then I'm holding the GoPro while I'm talking into it. I think I'm holding the GoPro steady, but as I was editing the video, I could see that it was bobbing around a lot. And if I was talking for a long time, I think that would get quite annoying as a viewing experience. In fact, it was so annoying when I was editing it that I noticed that in DaVinci Resolve there is a stabilization feature. So I ran all those video clips through DaVinci Resolve stabilization to get rid of some of that bobbing and moving from side to side. Helped a lot, but it took an incredibly long time. One video clip would be about 10 minutes to stabilize just one clip. Takes a long time to do each clip, but I did it anyway. But anyway, this time I mounted it securely. I think it's better to have it mounted rather than hold on to it. So before security shut me down and before I discovered McDonald's, I think I see my food coming already. Thank you. Okay, interesting. there we have a basic bowl of noodles, and I think this comes with the noodles. At first I thought this was, he was holding it like this. I couldn't see what was inside. I thought that was my macaroni and cheese, but there's some sort of something that goes with the noodles. So I'm getting a mac and cheese as well. All right. I failed completely in my main errand. Came here to buy sandals, and I'm leaving in my old sandals. My old sandals still work, they just need to be replaced eventually. Yeah, by the time I got here, all hot and sweaty, and then a little bit wet from the rain, and then the mall was super crowded, and then every time I turned a corner, there was another security guard standing there. It just, I just lost the mood to go shopping. So what I should have done, I guess, is take the LRT directly here, straight from my place, and then I would get here cool and dry and do only shopping. Shopping for me, unless I'm shopping for a camera or camera grip, something technical, bicycle gadget, I can shop for that stuff all day long. Anything to do with clothing, it's just exhausting. I hate it. Maybe that's a typical guy thing. So yeah, I have to be in perfect condition to shop for clothes. Hello. And by the time I got here today, I was a bit of a wreck. So, lunch was good though. That was really nice. That was a good bowl of noodles, better than I expected. I didn't take any video of me eating the meal or talking about it. Noodles, and it was shaved chicken or whatever you call that, and a whole bunch of good stuff in there, and the macaroni and cheese was really good. Reminded me how much I kind of miss the flavor of dairy. When you live, like in North America in general, cheese is a big part of your diet, I think. But overseas, in Asia in particular, it just doesn't come up that often. Unless you deliberately go out looking for it, cheese doesn't enter your life. That's why when I saw it on the menu, I thought, macaroni and cheese, I wonder what that's like. And it was really good. The flavor was unusual. Has a sharp tanginess to it that I don't come across that often in my day-to-day life. But yeah, my main impression from coming to this mall is security on every floor. I think there were 3 of these guys in yellow vests, the security dudes. So yeah, as I said in the past, I've gone into shopping malls all over KL, taken video everywhere, except for underneath Petronas Towers. There's that mall there. They're very sensitive. So you can't, if you break out your camera in there, security nails you instantly. They really don't like it there. They're conscious of the big towers up above them. They don't want anybody down there doing anything weird. But every other shopping mall, they've been fine with it. But right now, this guy, the security guard, no video. So, yeah. So I'm just gonna walk back to my hotel the same way that I came here. I'm just heading down to the river right now. I could go down this road. As I learned later on, this road actually can take you underneath the major highway systems there and then over the river. So you can go in that direction. I've walked back and forth. I remember taking a flight and I had to walk from Chinatown, and I would walk down this road to KL Central, and then I would get the airport bus here. So I've walked down this road a few times, ridden my bike up and down it a few times, but today, just to take the scenic route, I'm just going to go back to the river. Why not? No reason to walk down a really major, busy road if you don't have to. With all these interruptions, it's taking me forever to finish the story of Daryl and going to the car dealership. But I think when I last left off the story, we'd left the dealership, and Daryl suggested a Vietnamese restaurant where we could get some lunch. And he'd never been there before. He'd never even been to that shopping mall. But we drove there, and at first we couldn't find the place. We walked all up and down, knew the name of it, but we couldn't track it down. And then we finally found it. It wasn't really a restaurant, but it was a tiny place. that had a little bit of outside seating, plastic chairs, plastic tables, but they could make noodles, classic Vietnamese noodles, and they could make banh mi, and that's what I had my heart set on. Had a sandwich at the car dealership, and again, that was a little bit unusual in my life to have a sandwich, and I really enjoyed it. So I thought, Vietnamese, go for a banh mi. So I got like a shredded chicken banh mi, and I think Daryl got an avocado banh mi, and they were pretty good. Not the best I've ever had, but they were pretty good. We were talking about it on video because Daryl shot a little bit of a WanderEats video, and he was filming me trying my banh mi. And at the very beginning, I didn't have anything really good to say about it, but I was eating it from one end, and it was just all bread. So I'm biting into it. It was like bread. Oh, more bread, more bread. And it was very hard baked, like very crumbly and crusty. It wasn't really soft bread. And so at the beginning, I kind of went, it's not the best banh mi, and talking about how the banh mi I had in Penang was so much better than this one. But it was a little bit unfair. The restaurant, by the way, did I say it already, was called Ben Tan. Ben Tan. And yeah, it was a little bit unfair because as I ate into the sandwich and got into the heart of it, where all the ingredients were and the sauce and all the flavor, then it got better and better and better. And it turned out to be a pretty good sandwich. Again, not as good as the one I had in Penang, but if I remember right, the one I had in Penang was at a much fancier restaurant, and they charged, I think, more than twice as much for their sandwich. So it only made sense that it was a better banh mi. So yeah, Daryl and I had lunch there, and then went back into the city. Daryl's kind enough to drop me off right back at my hotel, and that was the end of that day's small adventures. I recorded a RELIVE video about during the day, but I didn't end up recording any kind of video myself. I didn't do a Planet Doug video. I didn't do a behind the scenes video. So I'm back at Tun Sambanthan. As you can see, the monorail station. That's where I got on the train to get out of the rain. And it looks like I'm going to be able to make it back without any rain. Skies are nice and clear. So let's settle in. Oh, we can cross over here, get over to the river once more. Yeah, this whole area, by the way, all around me is called Brick Fields, which is another name for their Little India. There used to be a lot of brickworks here back in the old days, making clay bricks, I guess. They don't really do that here anymore, but they still call it Brick Fields. And it's Little India. Oh, don't imagine you can see them, but there's some beautiful birds down there. There's a pair, blue wings. If I had a telephoto lens, I could capture them, but I can see them with my eyes pretty clearly. Beautiful birds. Yeah, looks like a pair. I have no idea what kind of bird they are. If they fly away, you can probably see their blue wings. Brilliant colors. So, other thoughts on my mind? A lot of YouTube stuff, as always. I was watching a YouTube video this morning. Brand new vloggers coming to Malaysia, landing at the airport, KLIA. I'd never seen these people before. And based on their subscriber count and the style of their video, they're not hardcore YouTubers. I think they have 248 subscribers, something like that. But the video was viewed 12,000 times, and they just posted it, and it had 12,000 views already. So it showed up in my feed, and I thought, I'll watch this. So I started watching it, and the one thing I noticed is they land at KLIA, and then they instantly head for the train, because there is a express train, KLIA or KLIA Ekspres. It's a high-speed rail system connecting KL Central to the airport. And I'm not up to speed with the cost of it right now, but it's as far as transportation goes, it's relatively expensive. It's fast and it's convenient, and it costs 60 or 70 ringgit, something like that. And something I've noticed is that in all of the videos that I've seen from travel vloggers coming to KL, maybe I've seen 1 billion of them by now. I've watched a lot of them. Feels like I've watched 1 billion. None of them, not even one, has ever taken the bus or even mentioned the bus as an option. They all take the fancy express high-speed train. Everybody takes the train. And I started thinking about that because I took the train maybe once. It was sort of a special occasion. I was meeting a friend who was flying in or going to the airport to see my friend off. It was something. And he was more of a normal person who had money to spend and things like that. So I suggested, yeah, take the express train. That's the best way to get to the airport. And I went with him and I paid for the express train. But that was a rare situation. In my normal day-to-day life, every single time that I've come into Malaysia, I took the airport bus. I mean, why wouldn't you? The airport bus back in those days was 11 ringgit. I think it's 15 ringgit now. So let's say it costs you 15 ringgit to go by bus. If the train costs 60 ringgit, by taking the bus, you have 45 ringgit to spend on something else. So to me, it's sort of like a no-brainer. And I was chatting with a friend of mine this morning about this whole thing, where in the old days, in the backpacker days, everybody took the airport bus. That was the normal way to travel, for a couple of reasons, mainly to do with backpackers didn't have any money, so they were traveling on a very low budget. So of course, when they land at any airport, they always look for the local bus to take them downtown, because that's the cheapest way to get out of the airport. You would never take, well, back in those days also, express trains like that didn't really exist yet, but the alternative would be to take a taxi or something like that, and backpackers didn't do that sort of thing. As a backpacker, you always took the local bus. You crowded on there with 100 other people, shoulder to shoulder, with all the chickens and the goats and the bags of produce for the marker, and it costs you 10 cents. It's hot, it's crowded, it's uncomfortable, it's slow, but that's what traveling was sort of all about back in those days. And you wanted to do it that way because as a backpacker, you had it in your head that you were there to experience local life, to rub elbows with the locals, as you might call them. And then if you go on a holiday, go on a expensive tour at a resort, you're going for pleasure, and you spend a lot of money so that you isolate yourself from the country around you. But as a backpacker, of course, you're traveling cheaply and you're riding on local buses and, in theory, hanging out with a lot of local people. And that was part of the deal. That was part of the bargain. It's uncomfortable, but you're having an adventure in that country, in the real Malaysia, the real Philippines, whatever it is. But now everything is different. Everybody has so much more money that even really, really young people who technically shouldn't have any money, they should be dirt poor backpackers, but even these people who look young and really poor, when they land at the airport, they head straight for the KLIA Ekspres train. I've never seen a single vlogger take the bus that I can remember. I just thought that was interesting. And this couple, I think their names were Matt and Saul, something like that. And they took the train. And then, of course, from KL Central, they took a Grab, taxi, something like that. But of course, in my case, every time I've flown in, I take the bus for 11 ringgit, and then that takes me to KL Central, and then I hop on the LRT to go from there. And at the very end, of course, I walk. I always end up walking long distances. But yeah, nobody does that anymore. Everyone has a lot more money to spend. It's kind of interesting. Heading back to my neighborhood, Merdeka 118. Something else I noticed about that video I already mentioned is that it had 12,000 views in a very short amount of time. And it isn't a very good video by any standard. These people are not putting any effort into it. They're just doing it for fun, probably making videos for friends and family. The audio is terrible. They aren't doing any, there's no production value to speak of. And yeah, it's not a video that should be burning up YouTube, and yet in a way it is. And I was thinking about that because I've been watching videos from another YouTuber couple from the United States recently, and they call themselves the Detour Duo. And just before I watched the video from this British couple, I watched a video from the Detour Duo that was set in Georgetown. They went to Georgetown, Penang, traveling, went to all the major sites, Penang Hill, Kek Lok Si Temple. They went everywhere. They went to all kinds of places, and their production value is through the roof. Really well done videos. They are done professionally. Then they clearly put a huge amount of work into them, where they have music and transitions, they've got graphics and information, and at the beginning of every video they put together a special introduction, like a trailer for the video. Really, really well done. They're very personable on camera, very enjoyable videos. They do everything right, and yet their video from Georgetown, as of this morning, had 798 views. And I was thinking, how in the world is that possible? Any vlogger that comes to Malaysia, that comes to Kuala Lumpur, their videos are almost guaranteed to get a minimum of 10,000 views, because it seems people in Malaysia are just very interested in what foreigners think of their country, and they just enjoy watching their videos. And yet this video, as I said, very, very well done. And yet not even 800 views. And right beside it was this nothing video from this British couple, which, nothing. They put no effort into it at all. And they had 12,000 views. So I couldn't make any sense of it. But in particular, it's not so surprising that their simple video had 12,000 views. That's kind of normal because Malaysians do watch a lot of YouTube videos. But what really surprises me is how unpopular, relatively speaking, the Detour Duo videos are. I don't know why. Their videos in Thailand seem to be pretty popular. As I said, they're very good at what they do. They put a lot of work into their videos, so they get a lot of views in Thailand. But here in Malaysia, for some reason, their videos just don't get the normal Malaysian view count. I've been trying to figure out why. Their Georgetown video, less than 800 views after 1 or 2 full days. It's very weird. Yeah, I can't figure out what's going on there. In terms of current affairs, one story I noticed recently is connected to the ongoing fighting in Myanmar. I was living in this small town called Mae Sot during the pandemic. It's right on the border between Thailand and Myanmar, because right before the pandemic hit and all the borders closed, I had traveled from Myanmar across the border into Thailand overland, and my goal was to just go into Thailand for a few days, get a new visa for Myanmar, and then enter the country again. So I crossed the border, but before I could get a new visa and go back, that's when all the borders closed. So I ended up staying in Thailand pretty much for the entire pandemic and basing myself in that town of Mae Sot. And right across the river in Myanmar, there's a river, serves as the border between the two countries. Mae Sot on one side, on the Thai side, and the city on the other side in Myanmar is called Myawaddy. And I'd been to Myawaddy, of course. I'd spent the night there. I spent some time in Myawaddy, so I know the town a little bit. But in the news, I saw some stories that the armed forces in Myanmar, like the local independence fighters that are fighting against the military, that are fighting against the junta that is currently in power after the coup, it turns out those regional forces, it looks like they took over the town of Myawaddy. They attacked the military base there and basically beat them and took over the military bases, and now Myawaddy was in control of these groups, the armed groups fighting against the military. So that's pretty crazy. I didn't get all the details, but there was a story about a plane. A plane flew out of Myanmar, and it was loaded with refugees from the fighting, and Thailand gave them permission to land in Mae Sot at the airport there. And then there was a story about another plane, and this plane contained soldiers. So they were defeated soldiers from Myanmar all in this plane, and they flew over the border into Thailand, basically running away from the fighting because they had been beaten. And Thailand allowed them to land as well. I don't know all the details, of course, but Thailand and Myanmar have a very detailed agreement about the border, exactly how to deal with certain situations. They have contracts and agreements, and part of the agreement is allowing planes with refugees to land on either side if there is a need for that. So this landing of the plane, the two planes in Thailand, was following the rules according to their international agreements, I guess. But anyway, I was just thinking about all the people that I know in Mae Sot, or thinking about me if I were still there and right across the border now, that that city of Myawaddy has fallen. It's been taken out of the hands of the military. So yeah, things have been heating up in Myanmar over the last few months. Yeah, I have to see what happens there. So I'm back in my neck of the woods almost, past Arseni right ahead of me. There's the Pas Arseni LRT station above ground, and there's an MRT station below ground. The Klang River flowing as always. Pas Arseni station from right across the river. There's the pedestrian bridge right above me. And I have to cross this road up ahead and continue walking along the river. Almost home. One more LRT stop and I'll be back. For just a minute, I thought about going to that side of the river and maybe going through the Central Market just to have something else to look at instead of going back on this side of the river. But I'm not having much luck with security these days. So if I go through Central Market with a video camera, I don't know, I'll be looking for security all the time. They'll probably shut me down. Seems to be a new thing here. Oh, there goes the LRT. Just about to go underground to get to Masjid Jamek. I could walk around the Central Market, down along Kasturi Walk, but nah, I'm just going to stay on this side of the river. There's not many people over here, nice and relaxing. And I guess my last stories for this video are going to be more YouTube stories. Yeah, I'm always watching YouTube travel videos, particularly when people come to Kuala Lumpur. I'm always curious to see what they do, how they talk about it, how they film, the type of people they are. I just find that interesting. And it's interesting that people can be so completely different. And maybe if you're a certain type of person, you're not aware that people are different. You just sort of think that everybody is like you. So, for example, I could never make a YouTube video and call it the 10 best things to do in Kuala Lumpur, because I'm aware that the 10 things that I like the most are not going to be the 10 things that somebody else likes the most. I have a certain set of likes and dislikes and personality and quirks and budget, things like that, and time. So I live my life according to the restrictions I have and the freedoms that I have, and mixed in with my preferences. So to say these are the 10 best things doesn't make a lot of sense. But I think there are people out there who are a little bit more, they have blinders on, and they just sort of assume that whatever they like, everybody's going to like. So you do see a lot of videos, and I watched one recently from a guy, I think his name was Gaz Wright. I'll put it on the screen in case I'm getting it wrong. And he did call his video something like the best things to do in KL, or the 10 best things. But then all the things he listed they really were the 10 things that he did. They weren't really the 10 best things to do. They were just the 10 things he did while he was here. And then he shot a video and he just called it the 10 best things. But he did go to some of the big attractions like Batu Caves, Petronas Towers. Everybody has to go to those places. But beyond that, his lifestyle was all about bars and high-end, classy bars. So these are the things that he thinks are the best things to do in any city. So when he came out here, he went looking for expensive cocktail bars. So there's one here called the Helipad. I've heard about it many times. I've never gone, but it's on the top of a building, obviously, an old helicopter landing pad. And they put some tables and chairs out there because you get a beautiful nighttime view of the city, and they call it the Helipad. And you go, it's a bar, basically an outdoor bar on the roof of the building. So he went there, and then he went, in his video, there's a list of all the places he went to. And they're all very expensive bars. The kind of places where when you go there, you stop and look at the cars that are parked outside. Because the people that go to these bars, they're driving Lamborghinis and Ferraris and who knows, Bentleys, Rolls Royce. These are rich people bars. And one bar he tried to go to, they wouldn't let him in because of a dress code. And as he pointed out on the camera, he was dressed relatively well. He's dressed a lot nicer. Like casually when he dresses a lot nicer than I do because he has a lot nicer clothing. But they wouldn't let him into this bar. It was sort of like they have a dress code. And it's like, nah, buddy, you're you're too poor for this bar. So he was even going to bars where they wouldn't let him in. And then he would go to places where, they would let him in, but very fancy sort of upper end, high scale bars, basically cocktail joints. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Again, just saying these are the 10 best things in Kuala Lumpur, and I wouldn't enjoy any of them, so they're not my 10 best things. And even the ones that I would enjoy, I would experience them in a completely different way than he did. Because I've invented the Planet Doug Batu Caves test, and every video I see from Kuala Lumpur, I test them on the Batu Caves test. Everybody has failed. I don't think one person has passed the test yet. And it's not a very difficult test. Basically, if you go to Batu Caves to get a good score, you have to go there by train, take the KTM to go there, don't get a grab or a taxi, take the local train. It goes right to Batu Caves. The terminal station is Batu Caves, so take the local train, have that experience. And once you're there, you have to know things about it in advance. You can't just show up and go, oh look, it's a cave, and then go home. So to pass the Planet Doug Batu Caves test, you have to at least know that it is a temple. It's a temple site, a holy site. Not only that, it's a Hindu temple. Not only that, it's connected with the Tamil people of India. Not only that, it is dedicated to Lord Murugan. And the big golden statue is of Lord Murugan. So you have to at least say those sorts of things on camera, or indicate at least that you're aware of them. But nobody ever does. This guy, Gaz Wright, he wandered around and he looked around and he says, yeah, there were some religious buildings, but that's all he said. So, and if you talk about the monkeys that are there, to pass my test, you have to know that they are macaques. You have to name the type of monkey they are. You can't just say, oh, look at all the monkeys. You have to say, macaques. That's interesting. But nobody ever knows that they're macaques. And there's things you can't do to pass the Planet Doug test. You can comment on the stairs. There's 242 steps to get up to the cave. That's fine. You can say that they're there. You have to climb up 242 steps. But you can't go on and on and on and on about how hard it is, how difficult it is, and how you conquered them, and oh, you're so exhausted because you got to the top. It's 242 steps. That's nothing. So if they make a big deal out of those steps and how tiring it is and what a physical challenge it is, they fail the Planet Doug Batu Caves test right off the bat there. And if you do know all of that, or you fail a couple of points, you can get bonus points if you know about Thaipusam. If you know that Batu Caves is the annual site of a big celebration here and around the world amongst the Hindu, particularly the Tamil people of Thaipusam. If you know that, you get bonus points. Oddly enough, this guy and his girlfriend, this guy Gaz Wright, he did one thing quite well. He actually went there at 5:45 in the morning or something like that. They wanted to go there early in the morning before anybody got there because they wanted to have it all to themselves, which is very unusual. And normally, I'd give them bonus marks for that. They'd get bonus points, and maybe they could even pass the test, get a passing grade. But the weird thing is, they went there at before 6 o'clock in the morning. They had the whole place to themselves. It was dawn. They could see the sun rising. And yet they included no video, no live video of that experience. So if you're going to be there at a very special time at dawn before sunrise, well, at least have a camera running and sort of talk about it and experience it in real time. But all they did was do a voiceover later on, because he did the whole video pretty much in voiceover narration. And he did have a couple of clips of his girlfriend going up the stairs early morning, dawn light, and but he was talking over it hours later doing a voiceover, which I thought was kind of weird. If you're going to get there for sunrise, film in real time and sort of deliver that experience of being there at dawn, because nobody else is going to have that in their video. So they could have got bonus points, but they didn't. So my hotel is back in that direction on the other side of Masjid Jamak. Beautiful day now. Sun has come out, blue skies. Yeah, a lot of crowds here alongside this part of the walkway. There's maybe, I don't know, 50 to 100 young men there. They look like they came off of that bus that I saw earlier. They could have been everybody that was on that bus with the migrant workers. And they came out here to play tourist for a day on a holiday. And here's the bridge that I crossed over way at the beginning of this walk. Very different weather now than this morning. Beautiful. It's really nice. I'm glad I went for this walk. I needed it. Loosen up a bit. And I have one more YouTuber to talk about before I get to the end of this walk. And a really interesting guy. Calls his channel JH Medium. Has an interesting history. I think he's actually a citizen of Norway. He was born there, but he has Chinese heritage, and he may have been working and being based in places like Singapore, Hong Kong. Perhaps he's living and working in Norway as well. I don't know his whole history. But a couple of things I do know about him. He's a young guy, very personable. He says himself he's very much an introvert. He's shy. He doesn't really like to be on camera. And he went to film school. So he likes to be behind the camera. He likes to make videos. He likes to make movies. But he usually has other people being characters in his stories that he's filming. So that's kind of his approach. And he went to film school. And he worked for Insta360, the company, 360 camera company, Insta360. He had a job with them in Shenzhen. That's where they're based, in China. And he worked there for them for 2 years. Anyway, a quick little interruption in this story because it's just an interesting visual to see the bridge from this point of view. And all the people out enjoying the day. And as I've shown many times in the past, that's the River of Life map. Crossing over the river now. New view of some of the buildings around here. Independence Square off in that direction. Families taking selfies. But yeah, this young guy, JH Medium, film school, working in the camera industry. What's that? Sure. Hello. Have a good day. And he knows camera gear. He's very professional. And I guess that's the main thing about him. His videos are unbelievable in terms of the production value. To think that there's one guy working by himself making videos like that is extraordinary. He does a good job too. He's got a good feel for it in terms of putting clips together, transitions, music, editing, all the things you need to do. He tells a very good story. And he's traveling with either his girlfriend or his wife. I'm not sure about their relationship. And she's in the video quite often where he's holding the camera and she acts a little bit like a model where she walks through the scene or she's staring up at something beautiful and then he films her in slow motion. All very tastefully done, very nicely done. Yeah, really amazing. I was chatting with my friend Daryl about this guy in his videos, and we were both saying that the production value is through the roof. And I said, yeah, it's through the roof and then through the next roof above that. I mean, it's extreme. And when you make your own YouTube videos, you come to appreciate that the amount of work that takes to do that and the amount of skill. So yeah, that's JH Medium. He's shooting with Fuji cameras. He has a Fuji XHS2 and maybe a Fuji X-T4, and he has a drone. I'm sure he has a 360 camera. He used to work. Oh, he was actually the creative mind behind a lot of Insta360's promotional videos that I've been watching over the last couple of years. I see all these videos when they post them to YouTube, when they come out with a new camera and they have promotional material. It's this guy who makes them. He was the head of their creative department. So yeah, really interesting guy. Of course, as with everything, you do get into the area of what I'm talking about, that what interests one person may not interest another. So even though I'm talking about how amazing his videos are from a production value point of view and the huge amount of work he puts into it, I think he was here in Kuala Lumpur for 2 weeks. And in those 2 weeks, so I was saying he was here for 2 weeks. He did everything, like all the big tourist attractions, name an attraction that a tourist is supposed to see. He went there in 2 weeks. And in between those big attractions, he was living his own life, day to day, going out to all kinds of places, doing different things, getting meals all over the place, visiting markets, but not recording any of that on video. But he took that all of that 2 week, everything that he did, everything that he filmed, and put all of it into one video. So, as professionally as he did it, it's not the type of video designed to appeal to me, because I'm not really that interested in being shown a glamorized version of how amazing a city is. I'm more interested in the nitty-gritty details of someone's personal experiences and struggles in the real world. So I spoke recently about how some friends of mine arranged for me to meet a tourism board in this village called Janda Bike, with the idea that maybe we could make a deal, have some sort of a collaboration where I could make videos for them promoting Janda Bike as a tourist destination. And of course, the entire time that we were talking about this and that I went to the village, I knew full well I'm not the person to make those kinds of videos. My brain doesn't work that way. But this guy, JH Medium, he would be perfect for it. He could go up there and deliver them a professional marketing video that would show everything there in the best possible light. And it would be an amazing video and be very popular. But of course, I'm more interested in the video of the guy who wants to visit Janda Bike, but he can't figure out how to get there, and he gets on the wrong bus, and he doesn't, everything goes wrong, and just the normal day-to-day adventures of being overseas. I'm more interested in that more down-to-earth personal approach, despite how amazing his videos are and how skilled he is as a filmmaker. They're not the videos that I would get excited about watching the next one and the next one and the next one, because there's no ongoing story there about him and what he's doing and his personal struggles, things like that. So yeah, JH Medium. I don't think there's anything else I wanted to say about him. I just wanted to mention him because I was so impressed with the production value of his videos. It's very interesting to see. Yeah, as I said at the beginning, these holidays have such an unusual mood. There's all these guys ahead of me, another 50 or 100 guys here. They're all non-Malaysian, right? These are all migrant workers from who knows where. Just this whole neighborhood is filled with them. And they're pretty much, mainly these are the people I've been seeing all day long, because it's a major holiday here where all the Malaysians, they go home. And all these guys get a day off. So suddenly the entire character of the country changes on these holidays. Is that you suddenly feel like you're not in Malaysia at all. You're in Sri Lanka or Bangladesh or somewhere like that. And I guess that is it. I have other things to talk about, but I'm back at the hotel after the end of my errand run. I set off to buy sandals. Didn't get any sandals, but that's okay. I also wanted just to go for a walk, clear my head, get some exercise, and I was successful doing that. So that's it. Shutting down, turning off the GoPro, and I'll see you in the next video.